Hey, what's going on everybody? So it's been a couple weeks. I've been traveling, missed a few uploads, but in today's video, we're gonna be putting some retro vibes into the Bronco. New grille, emblems, Fender flares, all pretty simple installs. I'm gonna walk you through it all, so let's get into it. All right, everybody, hey, welcome. So we're gonna pick up with the grill here. So what I've got is a grill that I picked up from the gentleman who I helped him with his top, the Raptor liner. He gave me this in trade. So I've already ripped the letters off the grill, and I'm getting ready to prime it and get it ready for paint. I've got an idea of what I wanna do, but what I'm gonna do is hit it with some 320 grit sandpaper and then some all-purpose primer. To get some mechanical adhesion, you know, like I said, I'm gonna scuff it down, and then that primer, I really wanna make sure the paint's gonna stick because I got some concerns about this plastic. So we're gonna start out with this 320 grit and just get a quick run through, not too aggressive, not looking to knock, you know, anything off of it other than just give it a few sand marks so we can go ahead and get that paint to adhere. So light brushing, nothing too aggressive for this. Then once we get done with that, we're going to grab the rubbing alcohol and the clean rag and just give it a quick wipe down. Try to get any grease, fingerprints, anything that's on there off before we get ready to shoot the primer. So again, this is an all-purpose primer. We're just going to give it a quick shake here and go light dusting as the initial coat. I'm going to end up using the entire bottle, or excuse me, the entire can on this. But we start out, as always, with light dusting coats before we move on to the heavy coats. Try to make sure you're getting in all the nooks and crannies. Again, there's a lot of holes on this grill, so you're going to come in and try to hit it from all the different angles, get really good coverage over this grill before you get ready to throw the paint on it. Now, like I said, I went through pretty much the entire can on this. I made sure I got good coverage. Give it a once over here, make sure I don't miss anything, and it looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours, let it cure up before I move on to the next round. Gonna wipe it again before I spray, so we're getting ready to throw the white on, wipe it down again with alcohol, like I said, just to get any grease or fingerprints or anything that's landed on it in the 24 hours it's been sitting there. And then I'm gonna shoot it with this automotive enamel white. So this is gonna be the majority of the color that's gonna be on here is this white. So again, right, we're shooting over primer. So this is, you know, already got a white base to it, but we wanna make sure we get this good enamel coverage on there. So shooting from all angles, start with a light coat, move your way up to the heavier coats, try to control runs and things like that. But again, just, you know, work your way through it, make sure you're hitting all the angles. Okay, so hopefully that wind noise isn't too bad. So after giving it some thought, I was gonna paint these original letters to go in the grill, but then I had some of these Ford letters that I had ordered for the 68 that are just too big to fit. And so after looking at these, I think these are gonna work perfect in this spacing, right? They're a little smaller than the originals, just, I mean, a fraction of an inch, maybe the same size. But the problem I run into there is, you know, B-R-O-N-C-O, 6 letters versus the 4 here. So really mounting them is gonna turn into a bit of a hassle. So what I'm gonna do is take some of this aluminum bar stock, cut it down to fit, mount it, and then mount these to that. That way I can get the spacing right. So I've got some cutting to do, I've got some drilling to do, and then I'll paint that white. Also, I've decided I'm gonna keep this mostly white and then do body color, so I've got to do some taping off. I'm gonna paint the exterior trim black to match mine, and then clear coat all of it once I've got this kind of set the way I want it. So the only unknown for me is how I'm gonna mount this aluminum piece to the plastic. It's pretty thin, it's I think 1/8 of an inch. And so I don't know if I'm gonna drill into it from the back. I don't know if I can get enough purchase on it, like bite on the screw. I might do a mixture of epoxy and drilling, or maybe just sink a couple screws and paint them white and then put them in the original Bronco holes. I'll figure that out as we go. So that's the plan for now. All right, so I chose to go with aluminum with this. I know a few guys who've gone with like a plexiglass or something like that, but
I'm just gonna do the initial measurement here, get it down to the size that I need it before I place the letters on, and kind of get a rough spacing and idea of how this is gonna look. Visually, I'm happy with the 4 letters, so I'm gonna pull it down, mark my center line, and then measure out from there to make sure I get the spacing right on all 4 letters. Like I said, this is going to be visually a little bit different than the 6 letters, so your spacing is going to be a little different in that setup there. But once I've got the letters where I want them, I'm going to go ahead and mark the outside edge of all of these before I go through and try to mark the holes where I'm going to drill. So just again, doing all the fine tweaking here, marking the outside edges before I start in on the holes to mount these letters. Okay, so I went through and I did, I kind of eyeballed where I think those are going to need to be based on the measurements and then what made them sit straight. So then I'm going to take this punch where I've got all those marked, and then drill out some 3/16 holes and see where we're at. And hopefully those should all be pretty straight. Like I said, I just eyeballed it, did the tip method, but hopefully that'll work. So now I've got those holes. I'm going to take the spring-loaded punch, pop just an initial starter on these. It's aluminum, so the drill bit's going to go right through it. Just, make sure you're not letting it walk, but with that punch, it should take care of the heavy lifting for you to let you get that pilot hole started, and then just pop through the aluminum. Like I said, 3/16 holes is what I went with, and that was plenty to mount the letters on the piece of aluminum. Okay, so it looks like I did not nail that. The O and the R look pretty good. I need to bring the left side of the F up and the left side of the D up, and then I think we'll be good. So I'm just gonna round those holes out a little bit, give me a little wiggle room, and then we'll lock them in place with the nuts. But yeah, I think that's all that should need to be done there. Okay, so microphone off there we go. All right, so now I've got this done. So what I went ahead and did is mounted them to this piece of aluminum. I've decided I'm going to leave it raw. I went and did a quick brush on it to give it a brushed aluminum look, and then I also went and punched the holes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some double-sided tape here where there's going to be contact, and then I'm going to do a couple of a couple of bolts to hold this in. So it should, if my measurements were right, fall in place kind of like that. There we go. And then what I'm going to be able to do is come in and throw bolts through where the B and the O would have mounted here and hold it in place. And then, I don't know, there's a ton of contact points back there. I kind of drilled out the best I could to make those letters fit, but I forgot to account for the nut, so I didn't open it up quite enough. But I think if I just do those 4 bolts, that should hold it in place pretty well. And I'll do some lock washers or some nylon nuts, but I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think that's pretty good. I still have to, like I said, tape off where I'm going to do this in black, and then I've got to do the final clear coat. So this is going to hang tight for now until I can get done painting this. I think I have to wait 24 more hours to do the next coat on this. It needs to cure for, I need to paint within 2 or after 48. So I need to wait 48 to put the black on, but I'm gonna get it taped up and get ready so I can shoot tomorrow, and then we'll clear, and then we should be able to put everything together. Okay, so now I've gotten to the spot where I need to decide how I want to shoot the accent color on this. And what I think I'm going to do is I've got this automotive pinstriping tape, and I think what I want to do is follow this body line here that runs around the grill and do it like a vintage style grill on this. So I want to leave the interior white. We'll put the Ford logo emblems in there, and then this lip and the surround will be black. That's the way they did it on the vintage ones, which is kind of the look I'm going for with this grill. My only concern is if that black is gonna match or harshly contrast with the body color I've got on there now. It's called shadow black. It's just pretty much a plain black, no metallic to it. So I'm hoping that it'll blend enough that it won't look funny or won't be an eye, immediately draw the eye. But
I'm just gonna come in, follow this body line, which is simple here because you can just kind of cut it down at the bottom and run here. But up at the top, I think what I'm gonna do is there's just the tiniest bit of a ridge visible here. And so I'm gonna take it all the way down this ridge and leave just a pinstripe worth of white. What's going on, buddy? Leave a pinstripe worth of white above these cutouts. So there's some taping to be done, and then we'll get the tape and drape, mask off all this interior, and then we'll go from there. So in that intro, I called it, pinstriping tape, but really what this is just a green automotive masking tape. It's a little thinner, so it's a little easier to work with and make these more contoured bends around this grill, right? Because we're trying to get, radiuses here, and thicker, less pliable tape won't let you get quite the curve that this will. So Hugo obviously wanted to play during this whole thing, so it took me a little bit longer, but all in all, taping this off, you're talking about maybe 3 to 5 minutes. You need to give a little precision on those corners, but the top body line, you're gonna be able to follow it pretty easily, and then it's just gonna drop off at those sides. Then you're gonna come in with this tape and drape. This is the same stuff I used when I was shooting the Raptor liner and not the Raptor liner, the Classy Dip. And so I had a little bit of it left, but it's just gonna go in and take care of the majority of the taping and draping there, so we don't have to waste so much product. Then we're coming in with the black. So the black, again, we're gonna start with a light dusting coat on this, just to get some coverage on there before we go into the thicker, heavier coats of this black. I didn't need to use a ton of it, right, because this is just on the outside edge of this, but want to make sure we get good coverage because you're shooting over white. And then once it was all done, I was able to peel the tape and drape quickly. I like to peel while it's still wet. I think it gives a crisper edge and just a nicer, cleaner look. And so once we get that tape out of the way, you can see, I'm gonna grab the camera here and look. I think it turned out fantastic, right? It gives you really clean lines. You can see where the tape was. They give you really nice curves and tight radius around that. And so I think it turned out really well with that black and white looking fantastic. So then, once that's given a little bit of time to flash, we're gonna go ahead and pull out the clear coat, enamel clear coat, and we're just gonna shoot this all over everything. And so good coverage. The black was still wet, the white was obviously cured, so I was able to get this on there without any problems. Used a good bit, more than I probably thought I needed to, just because I like to have that. Since it's on the front, I'd like to have as much coverage up there as possible. Okay, so now that I have this painted and the Ford badges are mounted on that piece of aluminum, I am going to go ahead and throw it on, and it should be as simple as taking out these 9 little clips here and then 4 10mm screws, and then everything should pop off, and it should be a quick on and off. So hopefully this won't take too terribly long, but soon we'll get a little more retro vibe to this Bronco. So I'm gonna grab my trim tool here, and it's really simple. These are the center push pins, right? So you just pop the center of these up, and then you can pull the entire piece out. I ended up losing one of them because I got a little aggressive with my push pin, but I mean, they come right out. A screwdriver will do the same job as this trim tool. Once you've got that tray out of the way, you can go ahead and grab your 10mm socket and get those 4 bolts out of the way. And then it's as simple as just applying even pressure and pulling that thing off. And then the exact reverse, right? So go good pressure, seat it into all of the places where you need those little tabs to seat. Make sure you got those locked in before you go back. Put the 4 10mm bolts back on. Make sure you don't over torque those or over tighten those. Be very gentle with your gun. And then once you've got that taken care of, you see me there looking for the piece that I lost. I'm going to throw it back on, just call it lost to the the engine gods. And so I'm going to put the push pins back in place, and then we get it shut down, and that is the final product. I mean, that in real time it was very quick, but you can see how good that white looks against the black. I think it it gives a lot of character to that front end, very noticeable coming down, and much better than the standard gray that came straight from the factory. So really happy with that.
So it looks pretty good, but I already have some longevity concerns. I laid it down and scuffed it right there. And so I am not hopeful that this is gonna be in it for the long run. But I do really like the look of this. I think it ties in really well with the rest of the Bronco. Now the wheels I've got coming, I think, are going to throw everything off because I didn't want to go full retro, and I think that might have been a mistake looking at it now. But that's why we made the top peelable, and that's super easy to change back if I need to. So we can play around a little bit, figure out what's gonna work, and go from there. Okay, so we're gonna hop right into the flares. You can see there the new wheels are on. I ordered these flares from KBD. I believe they're out of California, and these are made to order. So I was waiting on these, and the time it took for these to come in, I got the new wheels. But these are urethane. They are super pliable and flexible, and they give you the instructions. But basically what you can do is you take these little tabs inside the stock Fender flares in there, and it's literally just a 90-degree turn on these tabs, right? You turn them from the lock to unlock position and just pull the flare off. It's as simple as that. So again, this was another piece that Ford engineers knew you were going to probably want to change out, so they made it super simple. So you see me looking at the instructions here. These flares are very similarly shaped, which is awesome because that means when they're on the vehicle, it gives a very uniform look. But as I was trying to figure out which flare went where, it was a little bit of a trick. As you're putting these front ones on, these little tabs that they're going to include here are going to go in place of where the factory locks went, because you're going to use some screws to hold this front one in place. So once you've got it all lined up, you see me there switching back and forth, trying to figure out which one is the correct front one. And you can tell by where the holes line up. So now that I figured out where those holes line up with this one, I'm going to go ahead and wipe down where the contact is going to be with the fender with alcohol, because these are going to be held in mechanically with the screws and then with adhesive as well. So it already comes pre-installed. It's an automotive grade adhesive that they put on this, just like a two-sided tape. But you got to make sure that the fender is clean. So before I did any of my ceramic coating, any waxing, anything like that, I had these installed, or I installed these rather, and then put my ceramic coat on. So these are the screws that were included with the kit. You see they got a good sized washer on them. So you're going to throw the screws in loosely, right? And this is all in the instructions, but very simple to do. You're going to throw those screws in loosely to still give you some wiggle room with the fender overall, because once you get it in place and up where you want it, that's when you're going to go ahead and peel the back off of the two-sided tape and then tighten everything down. So as I'm getting everything screwed into place here, just again, hand tight. You see me pull the gun out, but that's just to get it a little bit further in there. And then I'm going to go through, I'm going to grab the protective coat off the double-sided tape and then just peel and press. And as you move along the fender, peel a little bit, you press, you peel, you press until you get to the front. There was a second piece up there I needed to go ahead and get out the backing off of. But once you've got all that in place and firmly pressed in, then you're going to go back through and just tighten those screws that they provide. And it's as simple as that. Very easy to install, and you can see the difference between the stock fender flare and that one. So again, super simple. Then we're going to move to the back, and it's the same deal. You just turn the locks that they have on there 90 degrees and then pop them out. But the difference on the rear is you're going to reuse one of those, and then you're going to pull the 10mm bolts out of the fender that are back there. So they supply some 10mm in case you have, so mine's black, and they provide you with black bolts to make sure it's uniform and looks good back there. So you pull out the 4 that they tell you to, and then you line up this rear, and it's the same thing as the front, right? You just loosely put in those bolts that you've pulled out, or the ones that they've provided to you if your vehicle is not already black. And you're going to reuse one of the clips at the lower portion there. See where I'm playing up at the front? That's where you're going to reuse one of those 90-degree clips from the original fender flare. So then I got a dental pick that I have to get that two-sided tape loose, peeled it, pressed it, tightened it, and you're done. Very, very quick process, and I think for the effort, they enhance the look of the vehicle so much. I mean, they're a little spendy. I can't remember what they were. But when you see them pulled out, right, with the vehicle, it just gives it a so much cleaner look, in my opinion. I like the kind of the flatter fender, and then the wheels that I went with are a negative 12mm offset, so they push everything out. So I love it. It gives it a good bit of clearance in there. You can see how much much that opens up that wheel well, and just overall aesthetically, I love the look that these provide. So these KBD fenders are phenomenal. I would highly recommend a set of those. And then continuing on with another retro touch here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull off these Badland stickers that came on mine, and I'm going to replace them with the Bronco script. I absolutely love the aesthetic of the Bronco script. And so I'm going to take a heat gun here. Not really necessary. I don't do it on the other side. I did it here just because I'd seen somebody else recommend it. And so I just heated it up enough to get that sticker pliable. But make sure you're not heating it up so much that you blister your paint, right? You see me keep checking there to make sure I'm not getting it too hot. And it's just, I mean, it really takes just a few seconds of heat on this to make this sticker very pliable and very easy to remove. And again, like I said, if you don't have a heat gun, don't worry about it. You can do this without a heat gun very easily. You just got to be able to get an edge up, and they sell the plastic razor blades or anything kind of dull and blunted that's going to allow you to get an edge up, and then it's just a quick peel off. And you see it comes off one swoop. It's a good thick sticker, so I'm not worried about, you know, busting it up as it's coming off there. But easy to get it off. And then going back on, there's these templates that you can find online that are going to allow you to place this thing properly. And so again, with anything you're sticking on your vehicle, a good alcohol wipe down to get all the grease and debris off there. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this template out. Now I'm cutting this first one here, and it's windy as all get out, but I'm trying to get it in there. I cut it out, and it's not until I place it on there with this tape, you know, you follow that body line right there and then the door edge. Very simple to line up with those two lines. But what you're going to see here is I'm going to put this thing in place, and I realize my printer settings were wrong. So that's one of the things you need to make sure if you're going to do this, that you have the correct printer settings, because you see me lock this in place, and then I'm going to pull, once I get it all aligned here and where I want it, I'm going to pull the badging out, and I'm going to place it up for the first time here, and I'm going to realize that it's just not the correct size. You see me put it there, and I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right. It's because the upper portion was too big and the B was into the white paper. So I go print it out again at the right settings, cut it out, put it back in the same place, and now it's just as simple as you line up the B, the R, and the O, all where it tells you to, and then it just pops right into place. And so I put it on there. I put a little bit of heat just to, you know, set that glue a little bit better. And then once you think you've got it solid, you pull that out, and it's right where it needs to be. And then it's as simple as lather, rinse, repeat on the other side. So I've got that one in place. I swing around to the passenger side, pull the emblem off quickly, cut the thing out, and we're right back in there. And so all very simple. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know. But I love the retro look, and I hope you guys do too.